Hi, this is Dr. Jessie Rose. Welcome to day one of my class, How to Read Tarot Cards. And I just want to give you a little introduction, overview, talk about some of the supplies, and get us started here. We have a 4-week course. We're going to go through structure in week 1, symbolism in the 2nd week, interpretation 3rd, and then we'll get into doing readings. And if you'd like to see any of the more detailed topics for each of those weeks, you can find that in the descriptions in the sidebar of the Facebook group, and we'll tell you what each of the days are going to be during those weeks. We are going to use I'm going to refer mostly to the Rider-Waite Tarot deck. I have this giant deck because I really like the way it feels in my hands. It's kind of extra magical, a little bit different than regular playing card size, but you can get the regular playing card size, and you can also use whatever deck you have. I tend to like the Rider-Waite or decks that hold a little bit more to that classic art because there's a symbolism that the decks have that artists they make them a little bit more beautiful sometimes, but then they also get away from some of the really important, or what I find very useful symbolism in the cards. So for example, here is the Fool from the Rider-Waite deck. And then here's a deck that I read from now, which is called the Morgan Greer Tarot. And you'll see that the symbolism is very simple, very similar. But in this card, while you do see like the red plume is the same, the leaves are the same, the figure itself is the same, he's carrying a stick, he's got the pack on the back, white rose, you see the white dog, but then you also start to notice some different colors in the outfit. The sun looks a little bit different, and then in this one, which is much more close up, while you see some mountains in the background, you don't see the cliff that is very prominently here. So the more that artists take liberties away from these earlier designs, sometimes you lose some of the symbolism that's really helpful for doing a reading, but not always. Here's the World, similarly from the two decks. This is much more the same. Slight differences in the art, but you'll notice that the figure in the center is still pretty much presenting the same, even the body gestures, the legs are in the same position, and while the different heads are a little bit positioned differently in this card, they're the same. You still see a man, an eagle, a bull, a lion, and the wreath is there, the red ribbon is there. So you don't lose a whole lot. I tend to be a bit of a traditionalist in that respect, although there's a file for the class today. I'd like you to read a little bit about the origin of tarot because while it is a little mysterious and there are lots of different ideas, I think it's most helpful to hold on to the idea that they're all stories. And the whole point of the deck is that it's about stories. And it's a way to tap into story and mythology and the magic of mythopoesis. If you haven't heard that term, it's a really fun one. Story creation and myth making and how that helps us bring meaning to our lives. And so it's less about what's exactly true or what the right rule is, and more about poetry and art. So that's something that you might notice when you do open your deck. You'll see they all tend to come with a little booklet, and sometimes when people are just starting, they want to read this little booklet and say, oh, this has got all the answers and it explains what the cards mean. And so, for example, they have this whole little entry in here and it says the card name, and temperance means economy, moderation, frugality. And some people start, they want to memorize these meanings. And a couple of cautions there. One is you're treating the tarot like a dictionary and really limiting how the symbols can open up story for you. And the other is that often these are written kind of negatively, really, almost like for shock value for back in the day, around the 1900s when this was a parlor game and people would play the game of, ooh, what bad things are going to happen to you, which is not the most useful way to approach the cards. So I would caution you to, you can look at these books, but it's really not going to help you as a reader, except that it does have the first introduction to doing a spread. The Celtic Cross, it's good to know about this spread. It's considered the most popular classic spread, but the way I'm going to show you about reading the cards, you will learn how to create your own spreads and even move completely away from spreads. So it's a good intro, it's good to know, and it's good because people will talk about it and you'll hear about it, you probably already have, but pretty much we're going to say, whoop, check this book, don't worry about it. Instead, I would like to refer you to my ebook, Tarot Art Journaling, which is an adult coloring book. It's available on my website. Please go and download your free copy at www, don't need to say that anymore, but drjessierose.com. It's drjessierose.com. And we will go much deeper into that book, but it's a starting point for the approach that we're going to take here in this class, which is creative. And you don't have to be an artist. It's okay if you don't feel like you have any art skills, because, well, there are two things. One, because tarot is so visual, it's really very much about the pictures and getting into the pictures and learning to building a relationship with those pictures, actually. And there's another file for this class too, a little clip that talks about tarot is about doing, and doing things with tarot is part of how you build a relationship with the cards. So this course will give you a practice for doing, and we'll go through much deeper in here than we do in the book, but the book is a good starting point for this approach, this art journaling approach. So for that, you're going to want to have a blank journal. I really like these hardbound art books because I like to draw, and I like the quality of the paper. They're full of smooth paper that you can draw on, paint on, tape things into, glue things into. I also do a lot of work with collage. I will encourage you to. But you can even use just a composition book, especially if, as a writer, if you prefer the lined writing pages. Some people really do. So whatever you want to use, I just want to encourage you to get one that you set aside specifically for this practice, because you'll start in this class, and by the time we're over, you will probably run with it and do more on your own. I want to show you a couple of pictures just so you know what I'm talking about when I say art journaling. This is from years ago. I'm going to go through and work this with you through this class again. But in learning, initially I started drawing the pictures, coloring the pictures when I was a kid, because that was the first way I connected with the cards, which they were neat images, and certain ones spoke to me, and so I love to draw and doodle, and so that's what I did. And over time, I continued that practice and ultimately brought it together as a real formal way of teaching. But so here's a couple of pictures. You'll see this has from the Emperor card and from the King of Cups, and imagery with the cups in some of my journaling, and you can see how messy it is where it's just taped in there, because over time I found, well, I didn't have a glue stick available, and I didn't want that to hold me up, or just didn't want to have to be stuck in that perfectionism. And I remembered my old punk rock days with zine making and poster making, and it's just whatever you have at hand. You can use washi tape if you want it to be pretty. You can use Scotch tape, magic tape. You can do all kinds of things, and we'll talk about that some more as we go along, just creative ways of working with imagery in your journal as you're contemplating these ideas. Here's another picture that is a bit more colorful. So there's one that I did more with markers. And you can also, I will encourage you to do some collage exercises. So having some old magazines, scissors, any kind of embellishments, the kinds of things that you would use for scrapbooking. Really, the sky's the limit, right? And you can keep it as basic and as simple as you want as well. The ebook that's on my website has pages that you can print out, or you can draw, you can copy, of the cards. So for example, the World card, all of these major arcana cards, and tomorrow we're going to start talking about the structure and the major arcana and the minor arcana. What do I mean by that? But in black and white. So you have copies in that ebook of all these cards in black and white, so you can color your own version and start to get connected with some of the color symbolism in the cards. All right, that is it for today. Your assignment is to get the supplies that you need. Make sure you have them together. If you have whatever kind of tarot deck you have, that's fine. If you want to take your time and pick up in class 2 after you get these things, if you need to order a tarot deck, you don't have to have one. It's just however deep you want to go into the class, right? So please post about your questions, your experiences, if you get your supplies, if you're excited, and I look forward to seeing you again on day 2.